Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer. We're back today with the new patch and the Skaven going up against the Empire. No Amethyst Wizard, but they do have an Amber Wizard and a General of the Empire up in the air. We've got 5 units of Flagellants, 2 Mortars, and a Rocket Battery, some Free Company Militia, and Empire Knights as well. For my Skaven army, got a front line of Slaves and some Slingers. We've got Ikit Claw on his wheel here. 2 units of the newly nerfed Flayers. We can see here their armor down to 90. And we've also got 2 Jezzails with their slower reload time, a couple Rat Ogres, and 2 Shield Vermin with a Regiment of Renown flaming swords here, which are illuminating the forest quite nicely. Otherwise, this very dark, dense Nagarond forest here. Looking very interesting. And yeah, right off the bat, we're going to get the engagement underway. I'm perfectly happy to let the mortars and, so on shoot my cheap stuff that's out in the open. The Jezzails, I do have 2 units of Jezzails here, and the more expensive infantry are making their way up through the forest, protected by some Rat Ogres here. We're going to try and get the Jezzails into position to start opening up on some expensive units here, but as these Flagellants are coming forward without any real mass protection, we can come in with the Chariot units, start to do some damage here. The Dark Elf camp, so I don't know where the Dark Elves got off to, but unfortunately their camp is going to get taken down by everyone. You can see the Flayers also moving forward here, doing some good damage, and of course the Skaven Slave Slingers will be able to generate a ton of value on these armorless Flagellants. That being said, the General of the Empire is going to come over and immediately dive down, start picking away at the Doom Flayers, which is exactly what he needs to do. You can see the Free Company trying to fire in. They still have a pretty hard time hitting the Doom Flare, and while it's in melee, it's up to 114 armor, so it's really not going to be great. But that being said, the Flagellants are taking some fire from the Slingers, which is awesome. They are going to cut through the Skaven Slaves in no time, but in the meanwhile, for the small amount of time that they are here, we can try and generate some value from our other units. You can see the Jezzails are now opening up, starting to do quite a bit of damage on the General of the Empire. Unfortunately, we are having to shoot out of the woods here, and you can see that is blocking a number of the shots. However, it's better for me to sit in the protection of the woods and be protected somewhat from the mortars and enemy heavy cavalry as well. Speaking of which, some Empire Knights had pulled up and around and are trying to pull through the Storm Vermin here to get at the Vermin here. Not to mention, the Amber Wizard himself is going to drop down here in just a moment. You can see some heavy shelling going on as well, so the Jezzails are going to get somewhat compromised here. You can see Ikit's also making his way over. He has been getting beat up by the Griffins a little bit, has taken some damage. General of the Empire going to drop down one more time here, start to do even more damage, but I bring over the Rat Ogres, and I was hopefully going to cast an Overcast Death Frenzy, but Ikit actually routs, takes a really nasty hit from the General of the Empire, down to only 1200 HP there. You can see both the Jezzails immediately get terrified, so a little bit of a rough situation. That being said, we are seeing off some of these Empire Knights in the back. The flaming swords there, the Tail Slashers, too much for them. The Jezzails are able to reform a little bit here and are going to start firing at some of these high-value targets. You can see them starting to take some pot shots at the General, and yeah. Once Ikit comes back from rout, which he will very shortly, we're going to overcast Death Frenzy on all these Rat Ogres. Here it comes to juice their melee attack up to 60. They're up to 88 weapon strength, and the General of the Empire was wavering anyway, now going to take a ton of damage here. And yeah, this situation's going to turn. You can see the Brass Orb also being dropped. Does have a spin-up time, but it's still pretty useful, especially against lower armor infantry. You can see the Empire Knights charging in here, trying to bail out their leader, but the Flayers and the Rat Ogres are going to interrupt their charge there and also do a ton of damage as well, obviously with the Death Frenzy just now wearing off. But here comes a Howling Warp Gale. Looks like it probably didn't do a whole lot to those Knights. Sorry, not Howling Warp Gale, the Warp Lightning, but now the General of the Empire has fully been routed off. We're starting to reform a little bit of a pocket in this forested area here. The elite infantry has sort of come forward to start dealing with the Empire Knights and the Flagellants now, since they're mostly over on this side. Oh, a nasty hit though from that rocket battery right in the center of that formation there. You can see the Tail Slashers are wavering. These Storm Vermin are wavering. They're just not happy. Curse of Honorary is going down. The Doom Flayers also. You can see them getting dragged down over time, which previously, you know, they would have been that much tougher for the Empire Knights and Flagellants to do so, but they do get routed off by leadership there. So yeah, it's looking not great for myself. You can see this other unit of flayers, still a full 3 unit models, but again, getting routed off by leadership. These Skaven slaves are going to come back as well. But the Jezzails, this unit may come back. The other unit I'm pretty sure is done for. Yeah, it looks like they're going to get chased off here by the general. The tail slashers as well, so a little bit unfortunate, but we do have one more pocket here forming in the back with Ikit and these storm vermin. I know it's a little bit dark on your screen, guys, so sorry about that. This map's lighting is still a little bit weird, but you can see certainly the Doom Wheel at least crackling its way through the forest. This Howling Warp Gale, for whatever reason, even though it hits the General of the Empire, he's still able to move. I'm not really sure what happened there. It must be some kind of bug, but anyway, we do have some Storm Vermin forming up here. We have some more Skaven Slaves. There are plenty of Free Company and Flagellants coming into the woods to try and finish this off, but we'll see. These Warplock Jezzails did come back from route. We've also got some Storm Vermin here who can protect them. Looks like the Amber Wizard is going to go after the Flayers, which is obviously a good pick, but that does mean the Jezzails may be able to get a few shots in here, and it won't take much to rout off that Amber Wizard, being that he's so low on HP. You can see we're going to drop a Brass Orb here on some of these Flagellants once again. Brass Orb, very good against low armor, and Flagellants have 0 armor. It also can help stagger, other units as well. And yeah, wow, that's impressive that some of these mortar shots are actually making it this deep into the woodland here. But you can see I cast a Death Frenzy in anticipation of the terror of this General of the Empire. He's going to dive down and probably finish off Ikit, but the Death Frenzy, especially on these Rat Ogres, does mean that they're going to be able to come in here and hopefully finish off this General here. He takes a ton of damage, and his leadership is gone. Unfortunately, Ikit does rout as well, but the General taking successive hits from those Rat Ogres. We're going to make sure those Rat Ogres keep him pinned on the ground if they can, continue to get attacks. See if we can't finish him off. Let's see. He's down to 55 HP, so there he goes. General of the Empire down. The bounce power has started to tip back in my favor. You can see it's still a bit out of it as Ikit is getting routed off by some Flagellants here. But this Death Star of these Storm Vermin and these Rat Ogres can now just plow through most of the remaining Empire infantry. You can see Free Company trying to pop off shots and defend this desperate situation here, but obviously the mass of the Rat Ogres is just going to plow straight through and start to just absolutely wreck them. In the background, you can see the shots of the Jezzails. They have routed off that Amber Wizard, and is he actually going to shatter? It looks like right now he did shatter just there. So the Jezzails, although they are routing now from the rockets, they did their final job. We do have the Flayers making their way forward as well. So yeah, super close battle, but I do think I'm going to be able to pull this back at this point. The Free Company Militia getting surrounded by Storm Vermin and Rat Ogres here. Just going to be a bad situation overall for them. And will be, yeah, just bad. I mean, just look at him getting absolutely pounded by these Rat Ogres. It pretty much speaks for itself. And with the last of the infantry pretty much dealt with, it's just these 3 artillery pieces that are still firing into the woods here, still unleashing their gunpowder loads, blowing their loads all over the woods there. But yeah, the bounce power has tipped pretty decisively in my favor now, so it's just a matter of getting these Flayers forward, taking out the last of the Empire. And as much as it pains me to fight the Empire, certainly I wanted to try out the new Skaven, and sometimes people tend to pick Empire against me, trying to take away my best faction. Granted, I have been playing under the Modrin Orain name, I guess, pseudonym, you could say, and nickname. But yeah, some people do still know it's me, and I don't know if my opponent in particular did. It's H45, who has been around in some tournaments and some different things, but yeah, I'm not sure if he knew it was me, but he did pick the Empire first, so I decided, hey, let's try out the new Skaven. And although I think my opponent's build could have improved a couple of things, it certainly was a lot of fun, and the mortars and the rockets can potentially be pretty decent against the Skaven. But yeah, of course the 2 Griffins as well with their terror and everything was a lot for me to deal with, and even still almost cost me the game there, just doing a ton of damage to Ikit. And yeah, granted, I don't know that my build was necessarily ideal, but you can see everything else is shattered at this point except this 1 unit of Flagellants, so we're going to fast forward until they admit defeat, and officially will be victory for the Skaven. So very well played to H45. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. In terms of the army breakdown here, those Rat Ogres definitely did some heavy lifting in the woods there, taking out a ton of Free Company, and Flagellants also helping to do a ton of damage to the leadership units here. Both the Amber Wizard and the General took a ton of damage from the Rat Ogres, and that Death Frenzy Rat Ogre combination is just so good, especially when you have Storm Vermin mixed in there. Obviously, the Jezzails didn't get any kills. They were shooting exclusively at the Griffins the whole time, but they did get enough damage done, and like especially in that late game, routing off that Amber Wizard super clutch, and even shattering it, you know, making sure that it doesn't come back. Doom Flayers were able to rack up quite a few kills against the Flagellants as well. Storm Vermin did some good lifting also. 25 kills on Skaven Slaves. Slingers, and 23 on regular Skaven Slaves is impressive for them, no doubt. For my opponent, you can see the Empire Knights definitely caused some issues, and some pretty impressive kill totals on the artillery. Granted, a lot of those are Skaven Slaves, but at the same time, you may think that this build, you know, is kind of a bit strange and not the best, but it definitely had some good elements, and it did end up causing me some serious issues. You know, you may not think it necessarily has the tools to deal with the Doom Wheels, but the two Griffins definitely can. Personally, I probably would have cut out the Hellstorm and upgraded these two mortars to cannons, just because cannons have a faster fire rate, their missiles move faster, so they're harder to dodge. Whether you're shooting at infantry, cavalry, I guess the Skaven don't really have cavalry, but monsters or, you know, enemy artillery, cannons are gonna be a more effective choice than mortars. I mean, granted, this map was a little bit tricky. There are some obstructed lines of sight, and sometimes the mortars can kind of get up and over the woods and hit into some of those obstructed areas a little bit easier. So I do kind of understand from that perspective, but like a cannon would have been really good to have against these Rat Ogres. Could have maybe taken a couple pot shots of Ikit and even finished him off. Taking shots at the Doom players, you can counterfire the Jezzails quite effectively with cannons. So yeah, personally I just probably would have cut down the Hellstorm rocket battery and just brought regular cannons rather than the battery and the mortars. But still, very fun build, certainly nice and interesting to watch. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.